قد أفلح المؤمنون.
أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. وصلى الله على محمد وآله الطيبين الطاهرين. اللهم صل على محمد وآل Muhammad. Respected brothers and sisters, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Welcome back to our dissection, our biography of Imam al-Husayn and the Maqtal of Abu Abdullah salamullahi alayh. Today we'll be continuing where we left off. We'll be going over the story of Abu Abdullah salamullahi alayhi. When last we left off, he had his meeting with al-Farazdaq and now he was on his way to Iraq. So that being said, let's go ahead and get started. According to ad-Daynawari, as well as at-Tabari, they record the following. And ad-Daynawari has it in Al-Akhbar al-Tiwal, page 363 to 364, and at-Tabari has it on volume 19, page 83 to 84. We read the following, and we'll read it. We're reading from Tabari's account for our non-English speaking brothers and sisters. The report says that when al-Husayn saw the letters of the Kufans and the letter of Muslim ibn Aqil telling al-Husayn to come to Kufa as soon as possible, we stop here. We need to analyze this. We did, as I said in the previous part, we are not covering the bio of Muslim. That will be a separate video. So Muslim ibn Aqil, by this point, he had gotten bay'ah from thousands of people in Kufa. And so he had written a letter to Abu Abdullah telling him, we're good. Come to Kufa immediately. The Kufans are waiting for you. Everything is exactly what we expected, inshallah. Come to Iraq as soon as you can. So al-Imam al-Husayn, when he received these letters, he made his way. He left Mecca to make way to Iraq. And so he wrote to the Kufans while he was on the way. He wrote the following letter to them. In the name of Allah, the Merciful, the Compassionate, Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim, from al-Husayn ibn Ali to his brothers among the believers and the Muslims. Assalamu alaikum. I praise Allah before you other than whom there is no deity. Muslim ibn Aqil's letter came to me informing me of your good attitude, the agreement of your leaders to support us and to seek our rights. I have asked Allah to make your actions good and reward you with the greatest reward. I set out to you from Mecca on Tuesday, on the 8th of Dhul Hijjah, the day of Tarwiyah. When my messenger reaches you, be urgent and purposeful in your affairs, for I am coming to you in a few days, inshallah. Peace be with you and the mercy of blessings of Allah. Wassalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. So he had sent this letter with Qais ibn, it's spelled here M-U-S-A-H-R, but I've been told that it's Mushhir, is the way it should be pronounced. As Qais was on his way, al-Husayn ibn Tamim captured him in Qadisiyah and brought him to Ibn Ziyad in Kufa. Ibn Ziyad told him to curse the lying son of the liar, and so Qais was brought to the top of the castle, and he said, perhaps this man al-Husayn ibn Ali, who is the best of Allah's creatures, the son of Fatima az-Zahra, the daughter of Rasulullah, is nearby, and I am his messenger to you. I left him at al-Hajar. Answer him. And then he cursed Ibn Ziyad, la'inahullah, and his father, and prayed for the forgiveness of Amir al-Mu'mineen, Ali salamullahi alayh. Ibn Ziyad then ordered for him to be thrown from the top of the palace. He was thrown from the top of the palace, breaking all his bones, and thus he was martyred. Al-Husayn alayhi salam also sent Abdullah ibn Yaqtur with a similar letter, and he met a similar fate and was killed just like Qais was. So I want to dissect what happened here, because again, you have to know the story of Muslim ibn Aqil, which I promise we will cover, inshallah. So the first letter of Abu Abdullah, the first letter where he tells the Kufans, I'm on my way, he sent that after getting Muslim's letter telling him that everything in Kufa was fine, come to Kufa, the people are waiting for you. However, the messenger that he sent, Qais ibn al-Musahhir, or al-Mushhir, Qais's letter, the reason why Qais was intercepted by al-Husayn ibn Tamim, because Ibn Ziyad by this point had taken control of Kufa. And as soon as he took control of Kufa and he had murdered Muslim ibn Aqil and Hana ibn Urwa, he immediately sent his forces out to Nukhayla, to Qadisiyah, to these other areas, and he began to set up roadblocks. And he told his commanders, if you catch anyone trying to leave, deal with them. And if you catch anyone coming to Kufa, capture them and bring them to me. And so Qais, unfortunately, Imam al-Husayn's messenger, he was captured by al-Husayn ibn Tamim. And so Ibn Ziyad had him executed. He ordered him, go and insult Ali on the minbar and maybe I'll let you go. and he seems to have deceived Ibn Ziyad. He said, fine, I'll do it. And then he got on that minbar and begged the people to remain loyal to Abu Abdullah. As for Abdullah ibn Yaqtar, according to some reports, he was the foster brother of al-Imam al-Husayn, salamullah alayh, and he too was killed. So al-Husayn, salamullah alayh, at this point, his messengers are being intercepted and they're being killed. His deputy, Muslim ibn Aqil, had been killed, and he does not know about this yet. He's still making his way towards Iraq. So now we go over the narrations of al-Imam al-Husayn arriving in Iraq. So according to al-Daynawari, al-Baladri, and al-Tabari, they all report that al-Husayn continued his journey towards Iraq. And as he made his way, Bedouins along the various watering areas would stop and they would join him. So we read in Tarikh al-Tabari, in volume 19, page 86 to 89, we read the following. We read that eventually news reached him of the martyrdom of Muslim ibn Aqil and Hana ibn Urwa and Qais ibn Musahhar and Abdullah ibn Yaqtar. So he finally news has reached him that the Kufans have essentially been that the Kufans who had promised to support him had essentially the rebellion and their loyalty turned out to be false. And so al-Husayn turned and informed the people accompanying him of what had occurred, and they dispersed, leaving him with only those who left Hijaz with him. And this is something that we've seen in the Quran, that the A'rab, the Bedouins, cannot be trusted. So these Bedouins, they heard that he was going to Iraq and that he was going to take over, so they decided to tag along. Hopefully maybe one of them could get some, could become a governor or something, or a commander. But when they realized that al-Husayn, salamullah alayh, that there was no rebellion, they dispersed and left him with only his loyal followers. Ibn Qawlawayh reports the following in Kitab Kamil al-Ziyarat. In Kitab Kamil al-Ziyarat, we see the following report with a sanad to Imam al-Sadiq salamullah alayh, that when al-Husayn was in al-Aqaba, he told his companions, I do not see myself except killed. And so his companions asked him why, and he told them it is because of a dream he saw, and they asked what he saw. He said to them, I saw dogs biting me, and the harshest of them was a spotted dog. And this is a very ominous a very ominous omen. And as we know, this dream of Imam al-Husayn's would come true. And this spotted dog is most likely a Shimr ibn al-Jawshan, who was well known for the baras, the skin condition that he had. Ibn Sa'd reported with his chain. He reported with his chain in Kitab al-Tabaqat, Al-Kubra, volume 6, page 431. He reports the following. He reported that, and the chain he has is to someone who is majhul. But he says that this man narrates, he says, in Aqaba, I saw a set of tents, and I asked who these belonged to. So the people responded, and they said that these belonged to a man, al-Husayn ibn Ali, salamullah alayh. So the reporter, the narrator, he says, I entered one of the tents, and I saw al-Husayn alayhi salam, who looked aged, bi abi huwa wa ummi. And he was reading from the Quran, and he was weeping, and tears were rolling down his cheeks and beard. So I said to him, may my mother and father be sacrificed to you. What are you doing in this place, in this land that has no one in it? He says, Ya Abu Abdullah, what are you doing here? Someone like you, the grandson of Rasulullah, in the middle of the desert, right, with these tents, and you're sitting here alone reading the Quran. So the Imam said, these are the letters of the people of Kufa, and I do not see them doing anything except killing me. So if they do that, they will not leave a sanctity for Allah unless they violate it. So Allah will punish them with one who will humiliate them. And this is a very heartbreaking report, that Imam al-Husayn knows that, he knows the Kufan people are not to be trusted, and he knows that he is going to be killed, and he is realizing that the path the Ummah is heading down is not a good one. Now we will go over the first encounter between al-Imam al-Husayn salamullah alayh and al-Hur ibn Yazid al-Riyahi. So al-Daynawari and al-Tabari report that al-Husayn went from al-Aqaba until he reached an area called Sharaf. After departing from there, he reached an area called Dhu Husm, and there he encountered al-Hur ibn Yazid al-Riyahi. Or some reports call him al-Hur ibn Yazid al-Tamimi, al-Hur ibn Yazid al-Yarbu'i. It's the same person, it's just various different names for his tribal lineage. So, and we have already gone over this in more detail in his biography, so be sure to check that out. So al-Hur had been sent by Ibn Ziyad, and he intercepted al-Imam al-Husayn salamullah alayh, and now he was, he's blocking him from entering al-Kufa. So the following can be read in Tarikh al-Tabari in volume 19, page 93 to 95. You see the following. It says here that when the time for Dhuhr came, al-Husayn ordered al-Hajjaj ibn Masruq al-Ju'fi to give the call to prayer. When it was the time of the Iqamah, al-Husayn alayhi salam stood up and said to all that heard, "People, it is the true argument, ma'adhara, both to Allah Azza wa Jal and to you, that I did not come to you until your letters were brought to me, and your messengers came to me saying, come to us, for we have no Imam. May Allah unite us in the truth through you. Since this was your view, I have come to you. Therefore, if you give me what you guaranteed in your covenants and sworn testimonies, I will come to your town. If you will not and are averse to my coming, I will leave you for the place for which I came to you." Now, keep in mind here, we went over this in the bio of al-Hur, which I highly recommend you watch for a more detailed analysis of this particular moment concerning al-Hur. Al-Hur at this point was simply, a soldier following orders. It's like, I've been ordered to keep you from entering Kufa. That's all I intend to do. At this point, the order to fight al-Husayn salamullahi alayhi had not come in yet. Continuing the report of Tabari, the people stayed quiet, and before the prayer started, al-Husayn alayhi salam asked al-Hur if he wanted to lead his companions while al-Husayn led his. Al-Hur responded they would be led in prayer by al-Husayn. So al-Husayn led them all in prayer. And subhanAllah, one day they're praying behind him, in a few days they will be fighting him. When it was time for the Asr prayer, al-Husayn prepared for departure. But before he did, he led the people once more in prayer and then said to them, "People, if you fear Allah and recognize the rights of those who have them," is in recognize the people's rights, "Allah will be more satisfied with you. We are the Ahlul Bayt of Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa alihi wasallam, and as such are more entitled to the wilayah of this government over you than these pretenders who claim what does not belong to them. They have brought tyranny and aggression amongst you. If you dislike us or you do not know our rights, and if your view has changed from what came to us in your letters before, and that what your messengers have brought, then I will leave you." And this is found on page, now we're on page 90, what we just read is from page 94. Al-Husayn and al-Hur had a back and forth about the letters. And we went over this in more detail in the video on al-Hur, that the Kufans had sent to al-Husayn and how he will not leave him to go where he wants. Al-Husayn departed, with al-Hur's men following closely and watching them. As in, al-Hur is telling him, I won't let you into Kufa. I am simply going to keep following you until we figure out what's going to happen next. Correct? So you see here that al-Hur is very, very uncomfortable, we could say, with his situation. But again, he's refusing to disobey his Amir. He's refusing to ignore the orders that he was giving. Continuing on, al-Tabarani and al-Tabari report the following regarding one of the Imam's sayings when he was at Dhul Hushm. And this can be read in al-Mu'jam al-Kabir in volume 2, page 239, hadith number 2773, as well as for the English translation in Tarikh al-Tabari, volume 19, page 96. He says the following. He says, "You see," and this is al-Husayn alayhi salam speaking, "you see what this matter has come to. Indeed, the world has changed, and it has changed for the worst. Its goodness has retreated, and it regards good as bitter. Or there remain only the dregs like the dregs in a jar, sordid nourishment like unhealthy fodder. Can you not see that the truth is no longer something that men practice, and falsehood is no longer desisted from, so that the believer rightly desires to meet Allah? I can only regard death as martyrdom, as shahada, and life with these oppressors as tribulation." Now, Tabari's report says, I can only regard death as shahada. However, if we look at other versions, such as the one in Mu'jam al-Kabir, as well as Tuhaf al-Uqul and al-Malhuf, these later sources, they quote it as Sa'ada. I believe that you could argue that they were both understood to be the same, but I personally believe that Sa'ada is the more authentic of the two. The historians further record another saying at Abu Abdullah at a place called al-Bayda, because we recall now that al-Husayn is simply moving around in the desert. He's unable to move forward because al-Hur has him boxed in. He won't let him move. So al-Tabari reports, and this is in Tarikh al-Tabari, page 95 to 96, the saying of the Imam at Dhul Hushm. He says the following. He says, "People, the Apostle of Allah sallallahu alayhi wa alihi wasallam said, when anyone sees the authorities make permissible what Allah has forbidden, violating Allah's covenant and opposing the sunnah of Rasulullah by acting against the servants of Allah sinfully and with hostility, when anyone sees all of these things and does not upbraid them by deed or by word, it is Allah's decree to make that person subject to fortune, or to, rather we could say to misfortune would be more accurate. Indeed, these authorities have cleaved to the obedience of shaitan and have abandoned obedience to the merciful. They have made corruption visible. They have neglected the hudud laid down by Allah. They have appropriated the fay exclusively to themselves. They have permitted what Allah has forbidden, and they have forbidden what He has permitted. I have the right to change more than anyone else. Your letters were brought to me, and your messengers came to me with your oaths of allegiance, that you would not hand me over or desert me. If you fulfill your pledge, you will arrive at true guidance. For I am al-Husayn ibn Ali, the son of Fatima al-Zahra, the daughter of Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. My life is with your lives. My family is with your families. In me you have an ideal uswa. However, if you will not act but you break your covenant and renounce your responsibility for the oath of allegiance that you have given, then by my life it is not a thing that is unknown to you. You have done that to my father, my brother, and my cousin Muslim. Anyone who is deceived by you would be gullible. Thus have you mistaken your fortune and lost your destiny. For whoever violates his word only violates his own soul. Allah will enable me to do without you. Peace be with you, and the mercy and blessings of Allah. And so Al-Baladhri reports in his Kitab Ansab al-Ashraf in volume 3, page 381, he reports that when al-Imam al-Husayn salamullahi alayhi said these words, one of his companions stood up and said something. And that was Zuhair ibn al-Qayn. And Zuhair, we went over him in his bio. We know that Zuhair was previously a Uthmani. So Zuhair stood and said, by Allah, if we were to be immortal upon this world, we would want to leave it helping you and sharing your sympathies. So Imam al-Husayn praised him and prayed for his goodness and well-being. This is a very lovely quote by Zuhair. He says, if we were immortal, if Allah made us immortal, we would still want to die if it meant we could help you. Al-Baladhri further reports, and this is on the next page, on page 382, and this is an Arabic account, but I'm translating it for you. He further reports that shortly after that, al-Husayn traveled to an area called Adib, and Adib al-Hajanat. At this, 4 people came to al-Husayn. They were Nafi' ibn Hilal al-Muradi, who we did a video on, Amr ibn Khalid al-Saydawi, Sa'ad, his Mawla, and Majma' ibn Abdullah al-A'idi al-Madhaji. They were accompanied by the famous poet At-Tirmidhi ibn Adi. Al-Husayn welcomed them and they advised him not to enter Kufa, for their swords were against him. So these 4 men were from Kufa. They had somehow managed to slip past the blockade. They had managed to break through and reach Al-Imam al-Husayn salamullahi alayhi. Correct? Al-Husayn alayhi salam told him that he is being followed and was guarded by the forces of al-Hur. Al-Hur was not letting him move. At-Tirmidhi told the Imam that he would leave some important things with his family and then return to join the Imam, but by the time he came back, Al-Husayn had already been martyred. So we see that At-Tirmidhi ibn Adi, he was sincere. He was telling the Imam, like, I'll be right back, I have to go, I have to settle some things with my family, but then I will come back. But by the time he came back, Al-Husayn alayhi salam had already been martyred. Now I want to go over a very interesting occasion. This is a very interesting sort of story that has been narrated by the fuqaha and the ashab al-siyar, the ulama, on the manabir, as well as it's a common story among lay people. Some of you may not have heard it, but it's a very interesting episode from the Maqtal of Abu Abdullah, and it's reported by ad-Daynawari, and is reported by Ibn Sa'ad in the Tabaqat, and is reported by al-Tabari. And we'll quote al-Tabari's account for you. It's the story of al-Imam al-Husayn and a man by the name of Ubaydullah ibn al-Hur al-Ju'fi. We read the following in Tarikh al-Tabari, volume 19, page 100 to 101. Correct? We see the following. It says here that al-Husayn passed by an area called Qasr Bani Muqatil. So near Qasr Bani Muqatil, a man by the name of Ubaydullah ibn al-Hur al-Ju'fi was there. Ubaydullah ibn al-Hur al-Ju'fi, if you look into his biography, he was a Uthmani. And when Imam Ali came to Kufa, he went and joined Muawiyah at Siffin. But later, after Siffin, he came back to Kufa. So when he heard that al-Husayn salamullahi alayhi had come to Iraq, he left Kufa. He's like, I don't want to be in Kufa. I don't want to have to deal with al-Husayn. If Husayn is coming here, I don't want to be here. And so he left and went to Qasr Bani Muqatil. Subhanallah, he bumped into the man that he was trying to avoid. And that was al-Imam al-Husayn. Salamullahi alayhi. So Imam al-Husayn told him, he sent a messenger to him and called him to come join him. So Ibn al-Hur rejected. He said, I value my life too much. I don't want to join you, even though, and he says this to Imam al-Husayn, salamullahi alayhi. He says, even though I know that joining you means I'm going to Jannah. If I were to join you, I know it would mean I'm going to Jannah and I would be successful in the Akhirah. But if you want, I can give you my horse. Imam al-Husayn told him, I don't need your horse. I'm simply going to warn you to leave, because if you hear my cry, the cry of my Ahlul Bayt upon my martyrdom, or you help my enemies, then you are doomed. Ibn al-Hur would later regret not joining Imam al-Husayn. Now, Ubaydullah ibn al-Hur al-Ju'fi, just to tell you what ended up happening to him, after Imam al-Husayn died, he is recorded as being one of the first people to come to his grave and to recite a eulogy. However, this man was not sincere, because later we see that he joined al-Mukhtar, and when Mukhtar was not paying him enough, he joined al-Zubayr. And then later, when al-Zubayr were not paying him enough, he left them and tried to join Ali Marwan. And so, while he was trying to escape from al-Zubayr, he was crossing a river, and so they filled him with arrows while he was in the middle of the river, so before he could make it to the other end, and he drowned. So we say, هذا رجل خسر الدنيا والآخرة. However, there is another man who Imam al-Husayn reminded him of his right over him, and he, we say was successful where Ibn al-Hur was not. And this account comes to us from al-Baladhri in his Kitab Ansab al-Ashraf. And this is Ansab al-Ashraf, volume 3, page 384. And this is a very lovely story. I love this story, this small little episode from the Maqtal, and we will narrate it for you. Al-Baladhri reports that Anas ibn al-Harith al-Kahili, I believe he's al-Kahili. I think that's what Ibn Asakir says about him in Tarikh Dimashq. His name is Anas ibn al-Harith. He was a companion of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. This Sahabi, there is only one report that he narrates. This Sahabi, virtually nothing is known about him except for this one story and this one report. Correct? He had left al-Kufa for the same reasons that al-Hur did. But when al-Imam al-Husayn was finished speaking to Ibn al-Hur, not al-Hur al-Nazi, to Ibn al-Hur, Ubaydullah ibn al-Hur al-Ju'fi, Anas came to him and said the following to al-Imam al-Husayn. He said, by Allah, Allah has placed in my heart a want to help you, and He has encouraged me to travel with you. Correct? If we go to Tarikh Dimashq, if we go to Kitab Tarikh Dimashq by Ibn Asakir, he preserves the following report for us, which is related to this man. And this is with his chain to Anas ibn al-Harith in Tarikh Dimashq, volume 14, page 223. The one hadith he narrates from Rasulullah. He says, سمعت رسول الله صلى الله عليه وآله وسلم يقول إن ابني ذا يعني الحسين يقتل بأرض يقال لها كربلاء فمن شهد ذلك منكم فلينصر. So when Imam al-Husayn came to this man remembered the hadith of Rasulullah. He's like, I heard your grandfather Rasulullah say, my grandson will be killed in Karbala, and whoever among you can help him should help him. Correct? So this companion, subhanallah, this companion of Rasulullah, we never hear about him. No one ever mentions him. But this one companion of Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa alihi wasallam, we can see that he remained loyal to the Rasul sallallahu alayhi wa alihi. When he remembered the wasiyah of Rasulullah, this command from the Prophet to help his grandson al-Imam al-Husayn salamullahi alayhi, he did so. As-Saduq and al-Kashi report another example of a man who al-Imam al-Husayn called on to help him. Shaykh as-Saduq reports it in his Kitab Iqbal al-A'mal, page 154 to page 155, as well as Shaykhuna al-Kashi, rahmatullahi alayhi, in his book Ikhtiyar Ma'rifat al-Rijal, or is commonly known as Rijal al-Kashi, on page 332 to page 333. He reports the following. He says that al-Imam al-Husayn, they report this with their chains to Amr ibn Qais al-Mashriqi, who says, I entered upon al-Husayn with a cousin of his while he was in Qasr Bani Muqatil, the same place where he met Ibn al-Hur and Anas ibn al-Harith. So they greeted him with salutations of peace, and his cousin said to him, do I see dye or your natural hair color? Your natural hair color, sorry. So Imam al-Husayn, as we went over when we were discussing his appearance, he was known for dyeing his beard. So al-Husayn replied, "It is dye, and oldness comes quickly to us Hashemites. We age quickly." Imam al-Husayn is telling him, "Yes, I do dye my beard." So then he came closer to them and asked them, "Have you two come to help and join me?" So Amr responded, "I am a man of old age with great debt and many family members, and in my hands are the goods of the people, and I don't know what will happen, and I would hate to go against my promise of safekeeping the goods of the people." And so his cousin replied with something similar. So al-Husayn said to them, "So go from here and do not hear a call of help from me, and do not look upon even the darkness of my shadow. For whoever hears our call for help or looks upon our group and does not respond to us and help us, it is a right upon Allah to place them headlong into hell." And with that being said, we'll bring this part to a close. We'll catch you all in the next part, inshallah. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah.